This episode of Power Up is brought to you by Promo Corner's Page Flip. Not going to in-person trade shows this year and still need to get your catalogs out to those distributors? Upload your digital catalog to Promo Corner's Page Flip. Contact sales at promocorner.com.
Okay, so let's power up. Well, hello, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be here today to talk about how we can really make connections on camera, because I know it can be a little strange when we're all starting out, whatever journey you're in with the camera, confidence or video journey. It seems a little weird when you go on camera and you're like, how do I actually connect? So today we're going to talk about connecting to that lens and a few tricks that will help you break through and connect. Are you ready? It all starts with, you guessed it, setting an intention. When you can set an intention for what you want to achieve when you go on video, it's really going to change everything. It's going to change the way you show up. It's going to change the tone. It's going to change the vibe, and it's going to change your approach before you even begin. So what do I mean by that? I mean, before you roll, what you want to think about is, what do I want to accomplish with going on video? For this specific video, who do I really want to reach? I mean, who's watching this, right? And who needs to hear your message? When you set those intentions, that is going to set all of everything else in motion for you to be able to open up and connect more. I mean, what is really the goal? Is it to build a relationship? Is it to build community? Is it to start generating sales? You need to set your intention, because that's going to set your vibe and get you in the right mindset. And when you're in the right mindset, know how your energy wants to resonate, you are going to resonate a lot better. So step one, mindset. Get that set. And it will also, believe it or not, help you with your nerves, because you're not going to be thinking about masses of like unidentifiable strangers out there in, camera land. When I was on television, when I first started out, I would stare at that lens and be like, ooh, there's like 100,000 people on the other end of that lens. They're all sitting in their living rooms, eating their dinners while they're watching me on TV as a news reporter. And I don't know why I thought of that, but that's what was happening. I mean, I was broadcasting to people all over the state of wherever, Connecticut, North Carolina, New York, wherever I was a news reporter. But that was more of like an announcer mode, right? Not really a one-on-one mode. That was a different take. When you want to connect with your audience, you're going to have to set that intention, because it's going to change your energy, and it's going to be setting you in the energy of service and not selling. That's an important point too. All right, let's move on to how, what are we supposed to, how do we address the audience? Okay, let me give you an example. Hey, everybody, how you doing today? I mean, what does that feel like? What does it feel like when I say, hey, everybody, how you doing? So happy to be here. Do you feel special when I say, hey, everybody? Now, I am guilty of doing this. I must admit, I am guilty of doing this from time to time. But how does it feel if I said, hey, how are you today? Like I did when I first came on after Brandon introduced me. Didn't that feel a little bit more intimate? You need to start thinking about your audience of one, even if there are hundreds or thousands of people looking at your live. You need to think about that audience of one person, reaching out and connecting with that one person. And when you can address the camera as, hey, how are you today? I'm so happy to be here. It's more personalized. It's more intimate. It's not, hey, everybody. That's kind of like announcer mode. That's auctioneer mode. We need to bring it down and get a little bit more emotional, so that we're not just thinking about plastic and lenses and wires and particles in space when we look at an inanimate object, which is another thing. What do you have to do to humanize that lens? I mean, I am staring into a little circular inanimate lens, right? No, I'm not. I'm actually looking at another set of eyeballs. I'm looking at my ideal customer. I'm looking at my best friend. I'm looking at another human being that has a heart and that has energy just like me and that wants to open up and hear my message because I've set my intention and I'm speaking just to them. So that's what we need to do, is we need to humanize the lens. Humanizing the lens and placing a person behind that lens will help you immensely get into the right spirit of connecting. And that's what we're talking about today. It's connecting on camera. And how can we connect? And how can you make people feel special? It's by bringing it down and actually being intimate. Okay, we cannot get away with not talking about eye contact when you're talking about connections, because if you're watching somebody and they're staring at their notes the whole time and they're doing their Zoom call, but they're staring at their notes, or they're on camera, but they're staring at their notes, they're not connecting to the camera. And that's where your person is. It's kind of like talking to somebody at, like a chamber meeting, right? You're face to face with someone, right? But their eyes are like over here and over there and over there. And who can I speak to now? And they're darting all over the place, except for where they should be, which is right on you. Eye contact establishes that trust. It establishes that get to know you kind of vibe right away. So you have to practice with your eye contact. Practice looking at that lens. It is strange in the beginning, but keep your eye on that lens, because it will be your best friend moving forward if you can start to build a relationship with that lens. Make sure you know where the lens is. Because if you're not using an external camera, if you're just using your smartphone, or if you're using your laptop, it's just a black bar, right? So I think I've done this before, but it bears repeating. Do a little pinhole. Put a little pinhole in a sticky note and place it right over where you think the lens is, and boom, when you've covered it up exactly, that's the lens. So if you have to use that as a target to look at, do it. Do it. Look at that little target. Have a conversation with that target, with that person with the beating heart. So the more you can sort of get that eye contact going, it's going to help you everywhere. So practice it. Practice makes it more comfortable, and repetition will build your reputation. So the more you repeat, it'll help build your reputation and build that trust, which is very important. All right, let's talk about the next thing that is going to help with your connecting, and that is your energy. So you want to go on camera and you want to start talking about serving, not selling. You want to be in the energy of serving, not selling. So how do you get into that energy? Well, you need to prime yourself. You need to think about what your intention is. You need to put your music on. You need to get in that energy of like, get the nerves out. Get in the mindset of who do I want to help versus who do I want to sell to? And that's going to help you have good energy. And that's going to create a good vibe. And that's going to open up your heart. It's going to open up your mind. That's going to allow you to emotionally connect with your audience. And when you can emotionally connect with your audience, boy, you are going places. I mean, you are really going places. When you can build that emotional connection, it is so important. It's not hard to do, but it does take some practice. And you know what the number one way to build an emotional connection is? It's by telling stories. Yeah, that is how you build an emotional connection. You know, kind of like when you're sitting across from a friend drinking a cup of coffee, talking about that hot date that you had last night. That's a story, right? I want to hear that story. Stories help transport people. Stories build an emotional investment. And stories, of course, are very memorable. So let me tell you something. Oh, yeah. Every time I drink from this is a swell bottle, believe it or not. I got this bottle when I was in Alaska, the first time I was going to Alaska. I remember I packed a very large suitcase because I wasn't sure. I had to pack they were predicting rain. They were predicting very cold temperatures. I had raincoats, I had hats, I had waders, I had boots. And then I showed up and someone gave me this swell bottle. And I was like, wow, this is my first swell bottle. And it was kind of heavy, because I wasn't used to having a bottle like this. But let me tell you something. Every time I drink from this bottle, it reminds me of my trip to Bristol Bay, Alaska, where I was doing a story on the salmon industry and meeting all kinds of cool people. And as I was walking and wading through the rivers up there in Alaska, learning how the salmon would spawn and then go back the rivers and die, and learn about the whole life cycle of salmon, I would also revel in the experiences that I had with the people that I met, like this woman, Apayo Moore, who actually is an artist in Alaska, who paints beautiful pictures just like this. This is her sticker. She's passionate about salmon, and she's such a cool person. And I don't know if you've met some Alaskans, but they are just the most open, beautiful people. And every time I drink from the swell bottle, like I did this morning when I was in my hot yoga class, it can guarantee me, and I had a bead of sweat going down my brow. I took a sip of this water, and it immediately brought me back to Bristol Bay, where I was drinking this ice cold water. And I knew that I could drink this water and it would stay cold, because for some reason, this technology allows the water to stay ice cold, which I actually really appreciated. And you know something else I really appreciated? I wasn't sure that I was going to do this when I first went to Alaska, but I have to show you these boots, because if I didn't buy these, and I'm going to have to move the camera now, if I didn't buy these boots, these are made in Alaska by the Salmon Sisters, right? And I have to tell you, if I didn't have these boots on when I was in Alaska for 7 days with the rain pounding on me, I would have been like a frozen popsicle. But I tell you what, I wear these boots with pride. Every time it rains, I wear them with pride, because it brings me right back to those hardworking fishermen in Bristol Bay, Alaska, and to see how they go out there all day long and try to bring in a catch of sockeye salmon. It touches my heart. So you see how stories can transport you. Did you feel the coldness of the water? Did you feel my experience and how I felt about the people in Alaska, the people that I interacted with? Telling stories can really transport people, and they can connect people to you like nothing else. So don't forget to talk about stories. Talk about why your product makes a difference rather than why your product is so awesome, how your product changed someone's life, or how it made a difference in someone's life, or how it impacted someone. That is what's going to really connect with people. Those are going to be amazing connecting points. So think about the stories that you want to tell with the products that you are pitching, serving, talking about, loving. Love up your products, because they'll love you back even more. All right, I want to tell you that when you go on, the one thing that's going to totally repel people is if you shout, if you're like all the way up here. But we're not on a trade show floor, right? We are not. I am 12, 11 inches away from you right now. I am not announcing to you. This is an intimate environment. So don't amp up all that energy over the top. It doesn't need to be. I have really positive energy, but that doesn't mean I'm shouting. The energy that I'm emanating is the energy that is coming out from within me. So think about how you want to come across, right? Don't shout. Do you remember that guy, Crazy Eddie, in New York? There was this electronics store back in the 70s and 80s. And there was this guy, and he was Crazy Eddie, and the store was Crazy Eddie's. And he used to go on and he would be like, Crazy Eddie's, where the prices are insane. Now that's speaking at someone, right? That's announcing. That's being an auctioneer. That's not being a connector. So make sure that your vocal tone and energy is set to the right way, because it can really repel people if you're all the way up here and you really need to be in here. Really close and center. Owning that square, baby. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to mention to you is language. So get rid of those Harvard words. You got to remember, who's your audience? Who are you speaking to? Who's watching what you are putting out, putting down, talking about? If you're using language that is elevated and up here, you are going to be disconnecting you're going to be falling away, disconnecting from your audience. That's why you need to really use the audience the language that your audience needs to hear, right? So think about that, because that is going to resonate. So know your audience, and remember, think about that one person at the coffee shop that you're telling that really awesome story to. All right, so to review, Brandon, I'm going to tell you that we're starting off with the intention. We're thinking about the audience of one. We're humanizing that lens so that it's another set of eyes with a heart, a beating heart, a breathing, beating human being behind that lens. We are thinking about eye contact. We have the right energy so that we're showing up in the energy of service and not selling. We are going to tell stories because stories connect and stories transport and stories can get that know, like, and trust together like nothing else. We're going to control our voice because we're realizing that we are in an intimate environment, and we're going to be really careful about the language that we use because we want to draw people in, not repel them. And that is this month's Power Up. I hope that you feel empowered with everything that I was able to tell you today. Thanks so much for having me on this month on Power Up with Pat.